They say that within every cynic you'll find a disappointed idealist, and I think that more or less sums me up. Um, I know full and well, no matter where I go on this planet from here, I don't even think any country on this planet will live up to 75% of my expectations of what a human being should, reasonably expect from a government. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it will always be. It's the reason that I've stayed in Finland for so long, despite so much going wrong. But that's politics. That shit can change in another 4 or so years. The people might wake up and go, oh, maybe this right wing stuff was not the right direction, and it could happen even sooner than that. And thus begins my however many minute journey this will be, telling you how much I really do appreciate Finland. To have a political system in place where if nobody can agree, it has to dissolve, and then it has to be rebuilt in the name of the will of the people. That's good. You're not going to get that in the United States. You know, you're only going to get that in parliamentary republics for the most part. If there are a lot of things happening that the people are fed up with, and the cabinet members can't agree on a policy position, they're forced to take a look at each other and go, maybe this ain't working out so well, so maybe we should let somebody else take over. And that, in theory, is wonderful, and on its own makes living here far and away better than living in the United States. But there's so many other things. In fact, I almost began a series of videos. I think it was Things to Love About Finland, and I just never got around to making more because ADHD, because distractions, because I don't know. But I want to try to cram as many as I can into this video because I don't want anybody getting the false impression that I think, or that I hate this country, that I resent being here, that I resent moving here, or anything like that. It's just not the case. It's just not the case. And to be critical of where you live, it's your right. Anybody who tells you because you're an immigrant you don't have the right to complain, just ignore them. Ignore them and don't pay them any further attention because they're not worth your time and they're just trying to stifle you on the basis that you're not native. But I don't run into that a whole lot here. Maybe on YouTube. Maybe some of the right-wing Finnish dorks who find my channel on YouTube. Yeah, I've heard that from them, kind of that love it or leave it mentality. But generally speaking, people don't really mind, and that's cool. That is very cool. I get the feeling that if you go to the United States as an immigrant and you complain about things, even if you really like it, you'll run into a lot more people who will say, oh, be grateful, kiss my feet, kiss my native feet, on stolen land, Go figure. America. I'm going to tell you a little story. Who's ready for story time with some leftists in Finland? Baby? Okay, that doesn't roll quite off the tongue as well as Adam Cole. When I moved here, I had some pretty bad stomach problems. They worried me a lot when I would be in public, especially if I'm on an airplane going across the Atlantic. Even though there's a bathroom on board, it's like still you don't want to be worrying about IBS a whole lot while you're traveling. You don't want to be worrying about it anywhere. And by the way, TMI alert. I'm not going to get too detailed into the workings of my colon, but some of you out there may not like to hear some of this stuff. But it has a happy ending. It really does. I struggled a lot with having the shits, no matter what I ate. You know, having the shits, having gas, bloating, having a, buying pants and then realizing they no longer fit because my bloat is just bad. And then it would go away for a while and then it would come back. Series of doctors, series of tests later. You've got IBS, dude. Here's a list of foods you can't eat. I eat those foods here in Europe. My diet largely has not changed, and maybe I was hurting myself a bit when I lived in the US by continuing to eat the foods that the doctors are telling me I just shouldn't eat. But when I would change my diet and go on certain things and off certain things, it didn't seem to make much of a difference. I moved here, and I noticed within about 5 or 6 months that I haven't worried at all about finding a toilet. Maybe one single time. But since that time, I haven't worried about shitting my pants. Haven't worried about, bloat or anything like that. And I can't prove it, but I think it has something to do with the food quality and the food standards. Not just in Finland, but in all of EU. That much can be argued and it can be quantified. Food standards are much better here than they are in the United States. So despite eating the meat and the dairy products and processed foods that we shouldn't really be eating a whole lot of, and no matter how well your stomach is, but despite all of that, despite largely not changing my diet at all, I haven't had any of those symptoms. And the improvement that made in my life, just that thing alone, was monumental. And speaking of the bathroom, of course, the butt hose, the pilupuhalin, the thing that you spray, little hand bidet, whatever you want to call it. Life changer. And then, once you're done not worrying about pooping your pants, you go outside, taking a big breath, and you realize even in Helsinki, where I used to live, the air is just, it's got a crispness to it. You take that same big breath in Chicago, St. Louis, New York, LA, Dallas. It's thick, pungent, with the smell of SUVs and assholes and giant trucks and pollution and just all of that stuff. Even in the major cities here, not only are they more livable in terms of walking around, not worrying about getting mowed down by some dickhead in an SUV, but the air, it's palpably cleaner and better, and also quantifiably better. Because some people will probably try to argue, yeah, but no, all right, go do some Googling. You'll all see. And then you take that breath and you hold it for a while, and then you let it out, savor it a little bit, and then, time to go into town. Look at that. The bus is right on time. Look at that. The tram, right on time. And it's clean, and it's efficient, and it runs well. It's such a relief to know that if you got to get somewhere within Finland, unless you live out in the sticks, out in a rural area, which I've also done that too, wouldn't recommend it. At least as an immigrant, I wouldn't recommend it. It's good to know that you're not going to have to worry about how you're going to get there, because infrastructure in this country is just so much more efficient. It's so much cleaner, and it never seems like they're taking steps backwards. Maybe that's because I'm not looking closely enough, but it always seems like they're progressing, like any society should, right? So maybe I'm taking that bus to, and I'm trying to weave together a story in my head on the fly here. This is all true, but maybe you take that bus to the doctor. Or maybe you have to take that bus to a dentist or something like that. And when you get all said and done with your appointment, or you're having the shit scraped out of your teeth, you realize that, hey, I didn't just go bankrupt. I didn't have to sell my teeth to pay for my doctor bill. I didn't have to, exchange a kidney for a root canal. It's another thing that, absolutely I don't take for granted. Having my appendix out here, I think, I think I was in the hospital for about 3 days because there was some other stuff wrong in there that they had to fix. And I think my bill, all told, for 3 days, observation, medication, food, everything else, the surgery itself, it's like 50 or 60 euros. It was incredibly affordable. And they give you so long to pay for it. So long. Electricity is so much more affordable. Cell phone bills are so much more affordable. When I came here and I found out how much my soon ex-wife, I guess, was paying for her cell phone bill for unlimited everything, like 25 euros. I'm like, damn. You'd only get something even approaching that with like shitty Metro PCS in the US or some other like prepaid service. Otherwise, you're paying through the nose, and TV and utilities are quite cheap, and they fluctuate, of course. I know that, I get that. They fluctuate. Sometimes they're very expensive, but generally speaking, compared to the bills that I saw in the United States, just like so many other things, night and day. So you take your reliable transportation back home, and despite being in the middle of a city, you lie back on your bed or your couch or your floor, wherever you feel comfortable, and you realize that it's really quiet. And if you're coming from an American city, an American bigger city, hell, even like a medium-sized city, you might be going, huh? What's wrong? What is this world even? I don't even know. Oh my God. Why is it so quiet? It's too quiet. No. That's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Peace and quiet. That is something you will definitely find in Finland. Sometimes to a fault. For example, if you're trying to find friends or, I'm not going to go down that route, but, peace and quiet coming from a boisterous, loud, annoying fucking look at me kind of country like the United States. It's invaluable. It is invaluable. There's a lot to love about living here. There really is. It's a struggle, and it's going to be even more of a struggle when I'm out there on my own. I'm not looking forward to it, but in a way I kind of am. At least I know if I get sick, I'm not going to go under. I'm probably not going to starve to death. Probably not even going to freeze to death. It seems like people in general are taken better care of here. And when they do these things like, this is the happiest country in the world, despite the depression, despite the under 25 drug overdoses and deaths, despite all the other dark things that happen around here, I guess there you go. If you don't have to worry about your next meal, if you don't have to worry about paying out the ass for healthcare, if you don't have to worry so much about how much it's going to cost raising a kid, even though some of these things are, going into the toilet because of this current government, but whatever, still, it tends to make you a little happier, right? You have all the things you need. You have all the things you need, unless you're a person who aspires to be a multimillionaire and to have all of these really expensive things, and you're materialistic and shallow and, all that, maybe it wouldn't be the best for you. But I feel like this is a country where if you're just a person who is happy to live with just the things you need, and a little extra sometimes even, you'll have clean parks, you'll have clean water, you'll have clean air, you will have peace, you'll have good infrastructure, you'll have, anything you could ever want. It'll be hard socially, absolutely. It'll be hard in many, many ways too. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But where will it not be? I guess. But it's good that I can separate the politics that I complain about all the time from, you know, from these things. Because these things exist, whether or not these right-wingers in power are trying to make life miserable for us. They might go away in the future, but for now, they're here. And I appreciate them. I really do. It may come to pass that circumstances force me to look elsewhere because the job market is quite awful right now for immigrants. And I think that if that were to come to pass, that would really suck. Because I've been here for 6 years, you know, and I feel like I'm getting better acquainted with the language, and I can't just give up on it now, you know. The more I speak it and the more I learn, the more confident I get that maybe, you know, I won't ever be fluent, but I'll get to some degree of aptitude with it, some degree of respectability. You know, I don't know at all what it is I'm going to do next or where I go from this very sad chapter in my life currently happening, but at least I know, and I'm grateful for, or at least I know that there are a lot of things that I would absolutely have to be scared shitless about in the US. Not just in terms of the things that I would be without, like, you know, basic necessities like food and water if you can't pay for them, but also, you know, the road rage and all of the assholes. America is full, completely full of assholes, and most of them are driving trucks and SUVs, and those are the people who are making life miserable for people on the road, miserable for people in cities. Yeah. So, essentially, this is a 17-minute way of saying it's not all bad news.